Time travel, a strange concept, whether it be something as simple as organizing a timeline, or something as complicated as understanding time travel. These questions have plagued the minds of theorists for years, and will probably drive them mad for years to come. But today, I am here to find out the true time of Miraculous Ladybug! Hey guys, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the canon timeline for Miraculous Ladybug. So a few things that you need to know. First off, I will not be going off of much stuff that has to do with time. Actually in the show. Mostly because if you look at Season 1, even though a lot of these things look like they had to have happened in a very specific order, some of them just simply don't make sense. For example, in this scene...
Viewers, here's the latest forecast for the first day of summer. Looks like Mother Nature had a change in plans. Summer vacation is officially over!
We can clearly see that she's saying that it's summer, but if you actually pay attention throughout the series, then it's not possible for it to be summer because they have never gone from one year to the next, except for in the very first episode, chronologically, Stoneheart. But aside from that, there has never been anything from going from one year to the next. Now we don't know now we also know that there has been about 1 year's time due to several scenes, but this one specifically.
Gotta admit, I never used to do anything for anyone before, but Ladybug and Cat Noir have shown me what being cool's really about. So this year, I'm gonna visit the elderly residents down at the local retirement home and play them all their favorite songs.
Shows that Nino has only known about Ladybug and Cat Noir for a year, which also means that everyone else has only known about them for about a year. Give or take a little bit, because obviously they're still in the school year, and they showed up about a year ago. So, yeah, because it has not been a full year since that event. There is some events later in Stormy Weather, in Stormy Weather 2, where they say, it's been, this past year has been crazy and stuff like that. I didn't look up actual scenes, but it does say that. So that therefore means that these events are happening over the time of a year. Now, I will also not be looking at scenes such as this one.
I spent 3 years of my life working day in, day out for this. What was meant to be my night is ruined.
Because this scene is obviously less of a specific thing like, hey, yeah, I've been doing this for 3 years, waiting for Ladybug and Cat Noir, working on this movie. Like, obviously, yes, he has been working on it for a long time, but the 3 years is more of a breaker, a fourth wall breaker. But that's beside the point. Obviously, if it had been 3 years, people wouldn't just be like, oh my gosh, okay, let's just continue going about our day. They would be like, yeah, we should comfort this guy before an Akuma happens. Because at this point, if it had been 3 years, they would just be like, we can avoid an Akuma because of the fact that Ladybug and Cat Noir will save us, but they wouldn't be as complacent in it. They would still be trying to help the guy to stop him from getting Akumatized. But that's beside the point. So let's look at the whole timeline situation. So first off, we know a few things. One, if it's the last episode of a season, that means that that specific episode is the is the last one chronologically in that season. And except for Stoneheart, the first episode of each season is the first episode chronologically in that season. So the only reason I say that this specifically is because Stoneheart, as well as its sequel, are very much are very much the beginning of Miraculous. They used to have a production code over on the Miraculous wiki where they would say, oh, this stuff is all of this specific things that chronologically this is how it happened. However, that's now gone, and the production codes are different now. So I guess they got misinformation, and the production codes really mean nothing now. Oh well. But if you actually look throughout a lot of the episodes, you can actually see little bits and pieces of stuff that is obviously, this had to happen first. For the most part, though, you can watch almost any episode throughout the season at any point in time. The only exception to this is a few episodes, such as in the middle of Season 2, we got Style Queen, Queen Wasp, which take place one after the other, and Reverser also happens right after Queen Wasp. After that, though, then we get Maledictator, and then everything else can go in really any order. There's nothing really saying, hey, yeah, I'm a biatch. Like, obviously, if anything in a lot of stuff in Season 3 with Chloe has been like, I'm Queen Bee, I'm awesome, even though I don't deserve to be awesome. Now, obviously, she's getting better, so that's good. A few other things is that in Season 2, there was also a short little period that I like to call the Chloe arc. This includes not Frightening Gale, Zombie Zoo, and Despair Bear. These two episodes are very much in a they're kind of in a chronological order, but they do have to happen before the whole situation with Queen Bee. So those two can go really anywhere before Queen Bee, and really almost every episode goes before before the whole Queen Bee situation, except for the last two episodes because of Heroes Day. And at that point, we then know that after this point, it has been a full year. It has not yet been a full year. And now we are in Season 3, which we now need to know exactly how much time is left. So, some things that we know. Heroes Day is not an actual holiday in France. It is a holiday in other countries, however, in France it is not yet a holiday. I believe that in this universe, Heroes Day probably originated, at least this version of Heroes Day, originated in the United States when superheroes started showing up. And then it spread to other countries because heroes were like, hey, you shouldn't just depend on us all the time. You should do good deeds to help other people. Now, obviously, these heroes would probably go around doing their own, like, smaller good deeds just to help people to see what they could do, but that's possibly what it started as. Then it came over to France a little bit, like, obviously a few years before the events of Miraculous, because they did say in that episode that they have done this for several years. But that's it. Now let's look a little bit at Season 3. This is the spoilery section, so please be aware of that. So, in Stormy Weather 2, there are several points where they say, oh, it has been this year has been crazy, stuff like that. That's going to be pretty insane. That's important. That is an important detail. That means that they are currently nearing the 1 year mark. This does not mean that it has been a full year as of this episode. It is likely that there were events that this is taking place at the end of the school year. Things such as, oh, her grade dropped a bit. That's something you would be worrying about at the end of the year. You wouldn't be worrying about that near the beginning of the year, which is when it would be a full year. So that's something that is important for people to understand. So that means that any episodes that are taking place afterwards would either be one, it has been a full year, or it is taking place during the summer. So far, however, none of the episodes in Miraculous really feel summery. Things that you would expect for summer episodes is going to the beach, hanging out with friends a lot more than you do at school, and there have been episodes at the school, so that's important to note. Something maybe that happened was, I was kind of thinking for a little bit there that maybe Where Dad is taking place in the summer, but they also say that that's Sunday, so that's taking place on a Sunday, so obviously they're not going to have school that day. But that's a few things that you need to keep mind of. So obviously, if they have not reached summer by the end of the season, I would imagine that season 4 will be very much in the summertime. I could see it happening a lot more hanging out with friends, stuff like that. Honestly, and that's the thing. I'm hoping that this happens, that summer starts before the end of the season. But that's mostly because of the comic. If you guys have read the comic, then you know that it takes place in the summer, or at least a little bit before the summer, which is, it would be a little bit odd if all of the kids were out at the beach if it wasn't summer. But Adrian is doing a photo shoot for swimwear, which you would not sell if it was not yet summer. Now, obviously, if you're doing a photo shoot with swimsuit stuff, you usually want to do that before summer starts. So it is possible that that would be in the spring, but not 100% certain. But yeah, they would be doing the photo shoot for the summer, and then that's when the comic would happen. A good way to see when the comic is taking place, if it's actually canon, which I'm not certain if it's canon, so do not quote me on the fact on whether or not it's canon. That is something that Thomas Ostruck, as well as the people at ZAG, have to decide for themselves if the comic is canon to the actual show. I personally believe it is, but that's for them to decide. So, my theory, I've said before that I believe that before the end of the season, Ladybug and Cat Noir will realize that, will figure out their identities. But in the comic, they don't know their identities. So that means that if they actually reveal their identities, and yeah, it's possible that they will, then they have to, then once they've revealed their identities, that is the point of the comic is before this, no matter what. Even if it's like the weirdest possible timing, it has to be the comic takes place before that. So that's just what I'm thinking right now. Now, we don't necessarily... so a few other things is, there has not been any birthdays as of Bubbler. Bubbler was the only actual birthday that we have had. I do imagine that Party Crasher will be a birthday. but it will be with someone's birthday that is not really important to the story, so that's why it's not super important to worry about. That is really annoying. Anyways, so that's what I'm thinking. I would imagine that in Season 5 that we would get some pretty cool stuff, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, if you go, not Season 5, Season 4, but anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think about this canon. Do you think that they actually care about the canon and the timeline? Because even Season 1, it didn't look like they really cared too much about canon. It was just a monster of the week. But in Season 2, it feels like there are a lot more going into the timeline, stuff like that. So I personally believe that Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, and so on will have a set canon. But anyways, guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-don.